For joining us tonight with another interesting topic. Hopefully, this one isn't too triggering, but the topic for tonight is called The Worst Mistake Women Make. With men, it's mistaking a grown boy for a man. So, this is a hot topic that we wanted to discuss, and we're going to let you all know more about it as we go along. And isn't that right, honey?
Yeah, because I really do think that this is one of the worst mistakes in particular because it can really lead to some devastating results and outcomes. And a lot of the resentment that we really see today in women, I honestly believe, come from either their conscious or maybe unconscious involvement with immature men. You know, those Pookies and Ray Rays that everybody talk about, and maybe there's lots of different. There's no
Right.
not gender. There's no ethnicity to
No,
it.
but we
Believe
all,
it.
the internet calls those guys Pookies and Ray Rays, but those guys who don't work, all they do is lay around, go from house to house, woman for woman, and unfortunately, these women give these guys all the attention. But not just guys who don't work, but also guys who are very irresponsible in their lives and don't take accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
Often at times have multiple children.
Yeah.
Out of wedlock with different women and not really focused on the family or building a family rather, or focus on themselves or as career wise and things like that. So we're going to dive more into it so that you can use discernment in order to make better decisions. So there are some key differences between a man and a grown boy that women must be aware of in order to make better decisions about who they allow into their lives, who they allow to date. So let's go over some of these examples.
Yeah, I think this is a good one in particular. It really will help define it for discernment, you know, so then that way you just know, right? What's a man and what's a grown boy, and not to get it confused, because it's easy to kind of blur those lines just because, the man is grown doesn't make him a man.
Right, exactly. You got those people out there and also some men out there that's trying to live their second childhoods on purpose. So
yeah, and I honestly too, I think this is helpful for men as well, so that you're able to recognize, like what are some checks for yourself to know, like, hey, am I on par to being a good righteous man, or do I still have some more work to do? So yeah.
Or do you even care?
Yeah.
That's another thing. There's people out there who don't care to grow up, and who are very selfish with their lives and who they are, and it portrays out onto other people, and they go about that with their relationships and they hurt other people. So we were trying to lay that blueprint down so that you can recognize these people and often you know what to do next time and stay away from people like this if you don't want to fall victim to the consequences.
Yeah.
So when it comes to perspective and purpose, a man has a broader perspective on life, understanding his place in the world and his impact on others. So he seeks meaning and purpose beyond immediate gratification. Being of service to others is an example. Caring about his community, caring about his family, wanting to grow as a man with a woman, or having a wife and wanting to be of service to her. Those are some examples of what grown men do.
Yeah. A grown boy, on the other hand, certainly struggles to see beyond, their own needs and desires. And we talked about that last night, the not being able to recognize that, hey, being in a relationship really does require letting go of that ego. And, you can't. A grown boy, on the other hand, will lack that sense of direction and that purpose. And that's so needed in order to be able to lead a family and lead a woman. You have to have that,
Right.
That's super important.
Oh, and then, like I said before, a grown boy doesn't want to grow up.
Yeah.
You'll find these guys who often play games with your heart and who are not serious about relationships, or may swindle you into getting everything that they can get out of you and then ultimately leave you. Or you may get into the relationship with these type of people and have children. And this is how you become a single parent, single mother, single father.
Yeah.
And you have to suffer the consequences of that.
Yeah, because a grown boy will certainly bounce from kind of like impulsively from one pursuit to the other without having that, set, strict, mind focused and,
Right, exactly.
yeah, that's certainly a great example.
So when it comes to problem solving and resilience, a man approaches challenges head on, seeking solutions and learning from mistakes. He's
Yeah.
adaptable and resourceful, able to bounce back from setbacks. I think
Yeah.
one of the key things here is seeking solutions and learning from mistakes. Men learn from their mistakes. We don't try to go and commit the same mistake over and over again and roll that dice of chance and see if we come out with another result.
Yeah.
No, we don't do that. What we do is we learn and we strategize and we calculate for a better solution, hopefully to have a better outcome on the next go round, whatever that challenge may be.
That's for sure.
Yep. And so a grown boy avoids problems or gets easily discouraged by setbacks, may resort to impulsive actions or blame others rather than taking responsibility and finding solutions. That's what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Those young guys want to, not necessarily young guys, but a grown boy, could be of any age, wants to blame others for their falls, for their failures, for their setbacks, like I said before. So that is a big difference between a grown man and a grown boy.
Yeah, and an important one too. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think also when it comes to relationships and intimacy, men, they really value that genuine connection and the intimacy. And, they're emotionally available, they're supportive, and really invested in building a life with you and having a healthy relationship, with you. That's something that a man will certainly want to, pursue more so than, a grown boy, on the other hand, maybe more superficial and just care about, the sex, or they are very transactional when it comes to their relationship with you. So that can certainly make them struggle with like vulnerability or just being, intimate in those deeper ways, like opening up to you and, really connecting with you on a less of a surface level way, but deeper into it,
Yep. They care about your needs, your wants, your desires.
A man.
A
Yeah.
man does that.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to communication and conflict and resolution, this is what it looks like. So a man communicates clearly and openly, even
Yeah.
during disagreements. He listens actively, seeks for understanding different perspectives, and values compromise.
Mhm.
These are things I say that a good woman allows a good man to grow in this way, and understand how to communicate effectively and not trying to argue, point blame, and always using those you statements. You do this, you do that,
Yeah.
etc.
If I may add, that a man also would look to want to do that as
Right. Yeah.
well and be
Exactly.
open to doing that. Not, especially, of course, the woman has to create that safe space for it, but he should genuinely want to, do that and not so much have those emotional highs and, seek validation per se through, acting out or whatever, kind of like what a grown boy would do.
Yeah. So a grown boy is prone to miscommunication, passive aggression, or shutting down during conflicts. So they may also struggle to express their needs assertively or listen to their spouse's perspective. They don't even care. They shun them off. They just don't even want to participate in the conversation or the communication breakdown. They're not even trying to resolve. They just want to ignore it and just move on.
Yeah. Yep. Or struggle to really offer that opportunity of like resolving conflicts and being open to, sitting down at the table and saying, hey, this is the problem. Like kind of how you mentioned earlier, a man is really solution oriented.
Right.
So he would be looking to solve the problem, not just, keep pointing out the problem or, look to beat a woman down or whatever person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And blame them and all of that. So,
Yeah, because it's not healthy.
right. So when it comes to self-awareness and growth, a man in retrospect is retrospective and open to feedback.
Oh, yeah.
He acknowledges his shortcomings and actively works on self-improvement.
Yeah.
And a boy deflects criticism and resists personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And they may lack self-awareness or be unwilling to take responsibility for their emotional baggage, accountability as well. So it's important for a woman to be able to discern between a man and a grown boy early when dating.
Yeah. So you don't make that mistake
Right.
of getting involved with
That's
them.
that's the reason why they say that it's important for not important, but women who are serious about marriage often at times find success in marriage dating
Yeah.
older men, because what they always say that boys mature slower than women do, as far as the seriousness and things like that, and especially I think at today's day and age. But it's a mixed bag. You still have women out there who are grown girls, you know.
Yeah, and the same for men too. It's like
Right.
older men too, maybe not
Oh
as
yeah, it's a
mature
mixed
as
bag.
they.
You don't
Yeah,
know.
that's why we're pointing out the qualities that you really have to look for when it comes to, into particular tonight, it's for our ladies. So really being able to recognize a man between a grown boy, so you just don't get involved in that so soon, because like we were saying, it really does damage a woman's overall perspective on relationships and love, and it can taint your whole mindset on all of that, and that's really unfortunate, because then you kind of in a way count yourself out, and that's what we don't want. We really want women to be able to recognize this, so then that way they can feel comfortable dating and being vulnerable when they recognize these qualities in a man,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yep. So pay attention to a man's emotional maturity.
Yeah.
So a man takes responsibility for his own emotions and actions,
Yeah.
can express his feelings healthily, and doesn't lash out or blame others.
Yeah.
Contrary to that, a grown boy struggles to manage his emotions, often resort to anger, pouting, or passive aggression,
Yeah.
may blame others for his problems, or refuse to acknowledge his mistakes.
Yeah, like we talked about. Of course, it's really good to pay attention to that communication that he, exhibits even in those early dating stages. This is something you can really just pay attention to, even, whether on the phone or actually in person having a date. A man will actually sit there and listen actively and try to understand, those different perspectives like we were talking about, and will really value that open and honest communication, even during those disagreements. But what we often see is, grown boys can kind of interrupt or avoid those difficult conversations, especially when dating, or they may shut down emotionally, and they may resort to things like, name calling or manipulation to get what they want. Of course, this is just the immaturity in him. And, that's all right, because he got some maturing to do. But that's just something to recognize that, hey, this is not the one that's ready for a relationship. So I don't want to make the mistake of getting too emotionally invested in someone who is, not there yet. So it's not good.
And then also pay attention to his actions, not just words. What a man does consistently speaks louder than what he says.
Yeah.
So make sure that he is backing up his words with actions.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention to his display of commitment and responsibility. So a man is reliable and trustworthy. He follows through on his commitments and takes responsibility for his actions, like we said before. And a grown boy cancels plans last minute, forgets important dates, or struggles with financial responsibilities. So
Yeah.
may avoid serious conversations about the future,
Yeah.
your position in the relationship. Don't want to give you all of that information. May not answer your phones on time. Things may not be there when you need them. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So be aware of those
Yeah. So
people.
you don't make that mistake like we're talking about. Of course, a big one that I always think about is the respect for boundaries. That was one of the things that I really recognized in you, even when we were younger, that your maturity was your respect of boundaries. You didn't, you weren't pressuring me into anything. You didn't, make me feel uncomfortable about anything. It was very genuine of a, like, not, the pressure wasn't on. But what I really genuinely noticed in a lot of immature men or boys in particular, that they really do try to push those boundaries, or like try to guilt trip you into doing things, his way or when he wants it, and really just disregard your needs and wants, especially if it's conflicting with his own needs and wants. So that's a really big one I think women have to pay attention to, especially when dating. Just, a man will have respect for your boundaries. That is a man, and he's always shown up to be that way. So really just recognize that difference between a man and a grown boy so you don't make those mistakes.
So we're going to talk about assesses in the level of growth and self-awareness. So a
Yeah.
man is open to feedback and willing to learn to grow, and takes initiative to improving himself and apologizes when he's wrong. And like we said before, a boy deflects criticism and resists personal growth, blames others for his shortcomings, and refuses to take responsibility for his actions.
Yeah.
We need to highlight that. We're trying to, get you all to understand that there's a big difference, and the reasons why your relationships may not flourish because you're dealing with the wrong people.
Yeah, yeah. And all of this really is important because repeatedly dating immature men can really warp a woman's perspective on love and relationships. And, I think this really is the most common thing that we see in a lot of women today, unfortunately, is that they start to review or view all relationships as inherently risky or disappointing. Or they may even lose faith in the possibility of love altogether because they get involved with the wrong men. And that, is a big mistake that can really just have those damaging effects we were talking about. So you really don't want to continuously involve yourself with immature men because it can really, chip away at a woman's ability to just open up to those future spouses and, be vulnerable and invest emotionally, which is really required in order to have that deep, profound relationship that you all really want. You should really want, at least.
Yep. And then constantly dealing with immature men or boys, or what we call it, grown
Grown
boys,
boys. Yeah.
can set a low bar for what the woman considers acceptable behavior in a spouse. So she
Yeah.
might become accustomed to drama consistently and emotionally neglectful. So also mistaking it for normal behavior. So this
Yeah.
can make it hard to recognize and appreciate truly kind, supportive spouses in the future.
Yeah.
Not to mention, now we're not trying to pander to women, but not to mention that also too, past traumas can also affect females prior to getting into relationships. And I'm pretty sure we're going
Yeah.
to cover the opposite of this in another video. But don't get that
Yeah.
confused as if this is the reason that women act out this way. It is a reason, but it's not the reason all the
Right.
time. So
Yeah, and I don't think this is so much pandering to women, but really hopefully opening up your eyes to seeing the difference, or one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of women make that warp their beliefs and viewpoints on men, because you cannot mistake a grown boy for a man. It's just not
right,
the same. And that's the issue. You mistake these grown boys and think how they act, or how maybe even this bad boy persona, because they can come off very masculine or protective, or, they give that allure of being a man when they're genuinely not men. And
right,
that's not fair to the good men who are out here and showing themselves and showing up as a man. And then, like you said, you come in, you start to think that just all men in general are, these bad creatures or whatever, when that's not the case, like, at all.
right.
And that's unfortunate. I think it's really unfortunate for women to have such a warped view on men. So hopefully this really does hopefully open your eyes to the key differences between a man and a grown boy. So run this back if you need to. Remember what we've talked about, memorize it, just write it down and
Right.
really set it in your mind so that this is the qualities of a man, and this is the opposite qualities that are displayed by a grown boy, so you don't mistake the difference.
Right. And this message is also too for those young girls out there, young women out there who are looking for husbands. And you may be approached by just any man because you may be lonely as well. I see this often at times too, that they
Yeah.
just accept that guy and then also put up with his nonsense because the lack of courtship. You don't
Yeah.
have to do that. That doesn't have to be an option for you, as we're laying this blueprint down on discernment between a man and a boy. So you
Yeah.
don't have to entertain that things. And don't think that you can change that boy and make him grow
Mhm.
up into a man. You can inspire this man to want to change, but all the change has to be done on his own.
Yeah. And you need to leave him to that,
Right. Because
honestly.
women, some young women like to think that, they can sex the growth into a man, and that is not the case. That is not the case at all. It doesn't work that way, nor does that makes relationship. It only makes relations and babies. So it's not unless you are prepared for heartbreak and single motherhood, then you shouldn't be out here, uh, you know, wasting your time with people like this. These, have value in yourself to not want to deal with men like this and these Pookies and Ray Rays out here who are trying to turn you into another statistic, and have that value in yourself, that level of respect, contrary to what today's cultural norms are, with all this horrible female hip-hop music that is raising yourself and then ultimately your young children and etc. All these young women out here thinking that this is the cultural norm. You don't have to bend to these cultural norms. You can rise above these things and make life better for yourself without having to suffer a whole bunch of mistakes and consequences throughout life, and then end up thinking that this world is a deep, cold place.
Yeah.
So take a level of accountability for yourself and discernment in choosing your mates and people who you invite into your bedroom or whatever bedroom you fall into. The choice, there is a choice. So I'll leave that right there.
Yeah. And then also, of course, take the time to heal yourself, please, from any past relationships that may have, hurt you or, hurt your mindset. You really, this really does start with acknowledging that impact that those past relationships have had on you. This is super important to do so that you can actually heal yourself. So whether that's journaling, therapy, or talking to, trusted friends or, family, just whatever you need to do to really help you process your emotions is really important, so that then you can heal yourself and show up better for the real man that deserves the whole good you, because that's genuinely what it's all about. You want to be whole and healthy and healed for the man that's for you. Of course, challenge those negative beliefs. We talk about that often, but you really have to take the time to identify and, of course, reframing from any distorted thoughts or opinions that you may have about yourself or men or love or relationships or marriage, like all of that. Really being able to recognize and identify those and challenge those, so that really you can empower yourself to seek healthier thoughts and really just let go of those limiting beliefs that you have maybe adopted from being hurt in the past.
And start focusing more on the positive qualities of men.
Yeah.
So recalling and appreciating positive experiences with mature men can help you envision and attract healthy relationships in the future.
Yeah.
Yep. And all relationships that you have with a man, whether it's your father, cousins, brothers, all of them, there are good men out here. Look for those good qualities in the man that you would want. And there are, you have examples. And if you don't, then, you may want to consult with a couple like us, and we can share some good examples with you. So,
yep, that is true.
And as always, please like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Blueprint family, we really appreciate you all joining us tonight. And so you can please join us tomorrow night for on Wednesdays, where we accept what was it? Calls. Are we doing calls tomorrow?
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do that again.
I forgot what we said he's gonna call that, but maybe we'll call it something different. But it's our live open show where we won't have any script, anything to really talk about, no topic.
So you all bring the topic to us, as we did the last time we tried it. It was a very good conversation. So
we didn't try, we did it.
Right, we did it. So if you all want to seek for some, free unsolicited advice, by all means, please, see us tomorrow, same time, same place, Blueprint family. We really appreciate you all and your support. So until next time, you all have a good night. Peace.